the relationship we have with ourselves is generally quite complex. This is explained by how the MK Ultra programs are affecting all of the real spirited being here, and how these programs are specifically designed to destruct self-esteem and constantly project an inverted feedback in the reality of the real spirited beings here. Oftentimes, we will, as we navigate the game, we will come to contact with certain experiences which will trigger different kind of programming, and that's how sometimes you realize that you had some dormant programming that's getting activated and you were not really aware that it was there before it got so activated in your reality, and you kind of have to deal with it, process it, deactivate it, integrate it. And one of the ways it can manifest, it can be around self-esteem. If you're encountering new situations for the first time, it can trigger things that were not triggered when new situations were not erupting in your reality. So that's when and how we become aware that this programming is there. And we generally have a lot of programming that is dormant and that is not activated right now in its active form, but that is kind of there. It is there in the signature. It is there in the background. It can be activated. It can be used, therefore. And that's one of the problem maybe with beta-6 kitten is dormant for a lot of years, but then depending on how much of a problem you are or which timeline you are going on, then you can have a lot of handling around you that specifically target this signature, because it's one of the best way to derail someone, and it can take years, and it goes very, very deep with sex alters, and it's a complex story, but it can definitely derail you for years without you being fully conscious that your decisions are being taken by dormant system that have now become activated. And beta-6 kitten, for example, can be triggered by handlers, by others carrying this signature, activating it in you, or by others who are alters who can also access, trigger, depending on who they are choosing to play here. If they are choosing to play a darker role, they are often used to trigger different kind of programming or target the wound of non-recognition, which is one of the big programs here that we have to navigate layer by layer. And the best way to navigate it is by remembering who you are and knowing who you are, which is pretty difficult sometimes here with the constant feedback you get from the engineering around you, which tells you that you are this way, that you are small, that you are bad at what you do, that you don't know who you are, that the methods you are teaching are not effective, or whatever you're doing, it's not right. And I've seen that feedback in my reality, and I see it playing in the reality of many other reels. And the more you know and remember who you are, the less effect it has and the less deep it can go into you, because you know that it's how it works here. You can dismiss it really quickly and not let it affect you so very deeply, because you know it's inverted. It's very important. So many times we suffer because of the psychic pressure of what is inverted, and other are perceiving and experiencing something, but they are deceived, and so you have this pressuring you in your field to make you believe it is this way that is happening when it's not, and you know the truth. And the more you know who you are and you remember who you are, the more you can push back that kind of false feedback and false image of who you are, because you know who you are and you're not falling for all the deception going on, how people are fooled by the alters, and especially everyone who is not doing the work, which is like a lot of people here. It's the great majority. So, and so many are deceived to be thinking they are doing the work. So it's really a great jungle here to navigate. And that's why it's so important to really have this identity much more anchored inside of us. And that's also why it's great to be able to have a trusted circle with whom you can discuss this kind of topic if you feel disoriented, and that's also why I like the quantum technology, because I do work with some friends or some clients on their relationship with themselves. It is a service I put into place back in 2022 when I was designing my course, Navigating Complex Relationship, and I did scan all the participants and did an in-depth reading about how was their relationship with themselves in 2022, because you can be that precise. You can be in general, you can scan a specific year, a specific moment, a specific month. You can travel back in time. You can see how it was in the past in specific years that were maybe especially challenging. So you can do a lot of things. You can also scan your relationship with food, which is pretty interesting, and which is something that I'm going to work on with the current group I'm mentoring elsewise, as we transition with a gentle pace throughout this whole year of 2023. So this I haven't been doing yet, but it's my goal to be working on this within the next few weeks. I think it's planned for next month. So it's going to be interesting to see which forces are influencing the relationship that each participant has with food. Is it influenced by dark forces? Which kind of triggering is making it more difficult, maybe? Is it an addictive type of relationship? There are many, many things to look for and to test for. So for our relationship with ourselves, it takes a lot of work to remember, and we learn to be more secure within ourselves, and to kick away that program that love is pain here, which is one of the basis and the core program of the MK Ultra programs, and it's running in so many different layers, and that explains a lot why in our lives we are surrounded by abusers or by narcissists. It's because we have this belief and this program really deeply embedded into our systems, and it keeps on running. There is also oftentimes the belief that we are mean, and I find that in my own story, we really reinforced at school, for example. It was pushed into my corner of reality repetitively in the hope I would believe it. And up until a few years, I mean, they still try to broadcast that through the inverted methods in my reality, though I know who I am and I know I'm not me. Also, we need to reestablish things like I'm lovable, I have faith in myself. We need often a lot of self-trust. And we also need to relearn and remember to be more gentle with ourselves, to be patient with ourselves, to slow down. That's one of my great understanding and remembering of the last year is this ability to stop many times throughout a day and just to lie down in the sun with my dogs, just to do it. And I'm just staying there, and I wasn't able to do that in the past, you know, so it's a great accomplishment to be able to do that. You see, you are working on your own wires. Also things like I'm worthy of receiving and being free from negative self-judgment always going on. Also letting go of our own mistakes. We're not perfect, we will do mistakes. People who really love us will often forgive us and be a witness for us if we make any mistake, or let us do our own experiences. So because of the MK Ultra programs, it's a journey to accept ourselves the way we are and release this belief that we are not enough and that who we are is never enough. Also anchoring this knowing that we are very unique as we are, all fire creation beings are. And if only we could see ourselves in the magnificence of who we are and anchor more and more of that signature here by working on true reintegration. But this unicity, you find it with every spirited being. Even the ones not doing the work, they're still very unique. You know, there is no one else like them. A fire creation being has a voice signature that is very unique as well, that has colors in it, that has warmth or healing frequencies to it for the light kind of beings. Another program that can affect the relationship we have with ourselves can be sacrifice programming, and this kind of savior big program that can really distort the image we have of ourselves. And we generally find a lot of operations in our lives at a micro level, but also at a macro level, that are going to try to trigger your guilt. And of course, the guilt affects very much the image you have of yourself. And it can trigger that different beliefs like the one I mentioned, I'm mean, or different things like that. Something that we all had to work on to be here today is also victimhood consciousness, which of course affect the image you have of yourself. If you see yourself and perceive yourself as a victim, you are caught in the drama triangle, where there is often an abuser or a savior, or where everyone is kind of shifting roles. And it's, again, false images that we have and false perceptions that we have to reject, that are pushed in our realities, and that as long as we believe in these false projections, we cannot really find the exit door. There are also lots of ego traps that are, our egos are always used against us for the things we cannot see. And that's why people who have a strong ego, and you can feel it in their psychic field, they're usually going to be really slow at deprogramming, because their egos are really in the way. So even if you bring material to them, they think they know better, they can have false humility and things like that. So all of these are lies that are told to the self. And this is I mean, if you really want to deprogram deep, you have to know how to navigate your ego and to recognize when it's getting activated. You have many signatures to read that as well. You can feel in your body when it's your ego being targeted, when it's your ego being triggered, when you are being attacked. You know, it's not always coming from the front. It can be a side triggers that is trying to bring you in reaction by targeting your self-esteem, your ego, and so on. Alters are also affecting the relationship we have with ourselves. If we think it's the core us who took this decision 10 years ago, then we don't really have the full picture in mind. When you know you have alters and you can trace back the signatures and you understand they took you believe they were real and they were active in your field, and you took decisions that were based on their expression. They're being triggered by different things. The entertainment industry can trigger alters. You have movies that are especially designed to have this effect, and you can trace it, you know, what kind of thoughts is it leading you to, or, you know, is it triggering a desire to do a specific action? And there you're gonna notice that maybe it might have triggered you deeply. So when you know these behaviors, these decisions, these choices, these life choices, even these discussions were not the core you, I feel it's much easier to move forward from a lot that happened in our realities that was completely engineered. And the more you deprogram, the more your past can be reread under that angle. And you can therefore see all the false realities that have been engineered all your lives, generating emotions, generally low frequency emotions, and a lot of difficulties in your game. When others are in profound denial and cognitive dissonance, it's also going to affect the relationship we have with ourselves. If we believe their version of reality, if we don't, I mean, even if we resist, it's still going to be a pressure in our field and might be triggering some doubt. Also, looking to backdrops for any type of validation is going to be a dead end. So how the backdrops behave is going to often influence the image we have of ourselves, because backdrops are programmed to not validate us, to not recognize us, to not be able to engage with us in the interface past a certain point. So you often get either a neutral or negative feedback when interacting with them. That is like something is a little bit off all the time. It's not, you know, so if backdrops are only useful in our realities if you need something that you currently not able to do yourself, in, you know, where you need a quick solution coming from the simulation to fix your problem. Often we are also very programmed to negative attention, and this negative attention also influences the relationship we have with ourselves. We also often are doubting ourselves because of this inverted prism feedback that is generated from the backdrops. streamed into our corner of reality. Handlers also are going to influence the relationship we have with ourselves. Maybe they are the ones that are going to do it the most. So that's the very reason why we need to keep on learning what we need to be able to do in this reality, not to rely on handlers. And sometimes this has to mean some very 3D things that we don't have a lot of patience to learn, or that it's a little bit of a hassle to just bring your multi-dimensional mind to this 3D thinking, to do the 3D things. But that's actually mastering the higher planes when you're able to do it. Also, Cabal loyal people that are used in our lives, they often disguised as friends, and they are going to trigger you, not encourage you, triggering your triggering your self-esteem. That's how you recognize them. But of course, they're gonna, influence how you perceive yourself, because they are projecting an inverted prism. You also can be finding yourself sabotaged by other spirited beings. That's quite frequent. And the more you progress, the more you're gonna have other spirited beings who are not doing the work, who are lying to themselves, who are in cognitive dissonance, that are going to be sent into your reality because they are the perfect distraction. They are a distraction from, and I mean, they are an interesting distraction usually, because they are spirited and they have complexities in who they are. And something that can really greatly affect us here is when a spirited handler is sending us a psychic attack, because you can feel that pressure coming into your field, and you can feel all the projection they have on you, and that they are concentrating their power into hating you, and you can feel it in your field. It's undeniable. So of course, it's asking of us to resist that kind of very strong inverted prism as well, and to declare that we will not allow anyone to control our thoughts and our perceptions of who we are. Now, flattery and love bombing also affect the relationship we have with ourselves. It's creating a lot of confusion. It's about a gap between the positive projections we have and we are being bombarded with, and the real work that we need to be putting. Being gaslit, of course, gonna influence how we perceive ourselves, as long as we give credit to the gaslighting, and delegating our own authority as well to anyone exterior is also gonna influence how we see ourselves. The New Age and the Cabal as well have an influence on how we see ourselves. It has to do with the gaslighting again, because I mean, the New Age is about spiritual bypassing. So you might wonder, it looks so easy if you follow the New Age principles. So why is it so hard? It's so hard here because we need to work on discernment and refusing a lot of propositions. And it's not only refusing propositions, it's in every single thing we do online. Are we accepting the suggestion? There are so many online suggestions, just a Google search or any engine, search engine that you are using, it's already making suggestions that are already very limited to you. Suggestion on YouTube, you can actually hide them. Suggestion on Facebook and social media on how to build your network. And if you look at the suggestion, they are never really friendly towards you. So, but it's difficult to resist them because you're constantly bombarded by these suggestions all day long in your online life, but also in your daytime life with everything that is being inserted. And one final thing that is also related to that, to the backdrop reality technology as well, is all the false matrix success templates that we see out there. The ones that are sold by the entertainment industry, the Cabal industry, but also on social media platforms, and also in handler networks. Handlers will be, even if they are fire or creation, more promoted than others because they are agreeing in making some contracts where there is a monetary compensation. So sometimes the monetary laws that work for handlers are not going to work for you if you do the work. And by doing the work, you also have to keep your network clean for yourself, but also for the quality of what can be experienced, because as soon as there is infiltration, there is targeting of the frequency that is being built. And it's very complex to be building something of a high frequency for that reason. Also because before any important event, you have extra targeting reaching the participant. And if anybody's access is gonna make the structure a little weaker for everybody present. So we really have to be torchbearers about antimetric success templates. And it's in the quality of the experience, in the healing that can be accessed, in the frequency that it just offers, in the knowing that it's the right path, and it's very focused away from all these false matrix success templates that we find out there, many numerous, and they can fool us, they can make us feel there is something wrong with us, but deep down we know the right path we are walking on, and that's the most important. So it's very important to be designing and to be focusing on our own success stories, and to celebrate more and more every month and every year, and to reside in the truth of what they are.